Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. This is the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. This is the place to be. It's St. Patrick's Day. Today, we're all a little bit Irish, and maybe most of us, if not all of us, are wearing just a little bit of green. Let's get the meeting started. Betty Harvey, principal with Betty Harvey Consulting, will lead us in the invocation, and Harriet Harrell, principal with the Harrell Group, will accompany us for the national anthem.
Thank you, President John. I appreciate that. An Irish blessing. May God give you for every storm a rainbow, for every tear a smile, for every care a promise, and a blessing in each trial. For every problem life sends, a faithful friend to share. May the friendships you make be those which endure, and all of your gray clouds be small ones for sure. And trusting in him to whom we all pray, may a song fill your heart every step of the way. Count your blessings instead of your crosses. Count your gains instead of your losses. Count your friends instead of your foes. And as you slide down the banister of life, may the splinters never point the wrong way. May your troubles be less and your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come through your door. Have a blessed St. Patrick's Day. I think I took all. I didn't take, I did. So proudly we hail, and the twilight's last gleaming, with our stars and bright stars, with the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we march, we're so gallantly streaming, and the long gates red glare, walls were singing there, they through the night.
And now, Justin McLaughlin, founder of Xenia Roastery, to help us welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians.
Hello and great afternoon, my fellow Rotarians. I'm here to announce guests. All right, we have Mr. Bob Vargo, who is a guest of Mr. Frank Shields. Mr. Gary Flieger, who is a guest of Mr. Frank Shields as well. Miss Janine Krause, who is a guest of Miss Laura McWhorter. Miss Sarah Hines, who is a guest of Miss Abby Dudick. Miss Shiloh Hines, which is also a guest of Miss Abby Dudick. Mr. Edward Hudson, who is a guest of Mr. Brad Nolan. Mr. Turner Thornton, who is a guest of Mr. Ty Stimson. Miss Ruth Marquez, who is a guest of Miss Acuna Angyalfo. You have a great day.
And now, as is our tradition, we recite the four-way test. And you know, we're headed into spring break. Most of us, it's spring break this week, but there have been spring break last week. Some places it's next week. And in our travels, I received, there's a slide coming up, the four-way test in Spanish. One of our Rotarians was recently visiting a meeting. So for us, we're going to do these 24 words in English. Please recite them together. Number 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? You know, programs are obviously a big part of our Rotary meetings over the years, and as we reflect on the history in our 110th year, it's fun to recall some of the illustrious figures who have crossed our stage. Cultural icons of the 20th and now the 21st centuries, business leaders, sports figures, people like Will Rogers, Roger Staubach, Nolan Ryan, Jerry Jones, and many, many more. Or let's take a look back to 1945, when Gene Autry sang at our Rotary meeting, followed by program speaker, Texas Governor Coke Stevenson. In 1955, we were visited by Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, the most decorated flying ace of World War I, a Medal of Honor recipient, and longtime head of Eastern Airlines. Eastern was perhaps at its zenith the year he visited us. The next slide, Braniff CEO Howard Putnam, he visited in 81 or 82, but then the very next week, the company declared bankruptcy, though I suspect he didn't talk about that. And then yet more cultural icons with Ann Landers in 82 and Dear Abby in 83 or 84. And then slide 3, but one of the more humorous anecdotes relating to programs in our history occurred in December of 1920, when local watchmaker and Fort Worth Rotarian G.W. Haltom, known as Pete, quote, presented the club with an alarm clock, which is to be set for 1:25 on meeting days, which would be a signal for any speaker to stop immediately, that the club may be adjourned. That's Mr. Haltom on the screen. He was from Arkansas, and he picked up watchmaking as a hobby, more or less self-taught. He opened up what is now Haltom Jewelers downtown around 1905, and he started out of a window in the general store when his main business pertained to regulating the railroad watches. So there's a piece of club history today. On another note, spring is arriving with our daffodils in bloom over at Rotary Plaza. The bluebonnets are hopefully not far behind, thanks to Bob Byers, Mark Dabney, and our Rotary Plaza Committee for their ongoing work there. And of course, springtime once again means spring break, and inevitably, wherever you go, you are likely to come to encounter the work of Rotarians. Ben Robertson's daughter, Caitlin, just returned from a mission trip to Guatemala. Nathan, I think it's either the prior slide or that slide, there you go. She's working on behalf of MANA Worldwide Missions, which is headquartered here in Fort Worth. They stayed at a guest house for short-term mission teams known as Casa Manya. And while she was there, being a good Rotarian daughter, she recognized these 5 plaques that were placed by recent Rotary International presidents, including the current president, Jennifer Jones, I see on there. And now, to tell us more about their spring break travels is Mitch Reitman, principal with Reitman Consulting Group.
It wasn't really spring break. I got married 3 weeks ago, and I have a client that was a Chico, California Rotarian who sold his company and moved to Roatan, Honduras. And so we went down to see him. It's been a really nice week. And while I was there, even though it was my honeymoon, I visited with the Roatan, Honduras Rotary, which is 1/3 Honduran citizens and 1/3, we have some slides there, 1/3 Canadian expats and 1/3 American expats. And they're more of a hands-on club. They dug a water well for the, that's actually, yeah, water well and built a school for the little village where they meet. It's about 15 miles in an hour cab ride from where the cruise ships dock in Roatan. And they're also very hands-on. Every year they get used medical supplies, and last year they got 2 fire trucks and 3 ambulances from the US and drove them. The Rotary Club, Chico, California, and Roatan drove them down to Honduras for the people down there. So they're a little bit more hands-on than we are, but they gave me a banner, and I think do we have a picture of the banner being exchanged there from their really great meeting? And I guess not, but here's the banner from Roatan, Honduras, and the Fort Worth Club banner is hanging there now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. You know, it's quite a Rotary tradition for some of our newer members, you may or may not realize, it's quite a Rotary tradition to visit, just drop into Rotary meetings in your travels. And we also have a small Fort Worth Club flag that you can take to exchange. And we have a beautiful collection upstairs, which we will add this. So thank you, Mitch. And now, just a few quick announcements. April 15th, I've been telling you about it. It's our Rotary District Assembly. It will be in Denton. It's a Saturday. It's from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. This is a major training for the year. So board members, committee chairs, and really any Rotarian, any active Rotarian who wants to learn more or become more engaged in club leadership, we welcome you and encourage you to attend. Registration opened yesterday. And then Rotary Night at the Opera is coming up on Friday, April 14th, and we hope you can all join us. You know, almost every year, we do have a special opera program, and I have so many of you members that say, this is my favorite program of the year. And of course, we know that the arts community really depends on all of us to keep them going. And we had the new Fort Worth Opera director in here explaining to us some of the challenges that they encounter. And so once again, it's up to us to fill the seats. So I really welcome you to come out. They are giving us a special 20% discount for Rotary Night. This has been opened up to our district. So it will also be an opportunity for us to network and mix and mingle with fellow Rotarians from throughout the district. And I know quite a few who have already signed up, so I hope you also will register. The 20% discount is only good through March 31st, so you still have a few weeks to put it together. Another exciting thing about it is it's going to be held at TCU's Van Cliburn Hall. This is the 1-year anniversary of the Van Cliburn Hall. And of course, many of you realize that Van was a member of this club, and in fact, he was also a major donor to the Rotary Foundation. So it will also be a special thing for us to be there and honor Van Cliburn. And now, probably what you've all been waiting for, really in the flesh this week, is Ames Fender, past president and partner of Fender Andrade, with our newscast.
Well, thank you. I feel about as welcome as a bank regulator at Silicon Valley Bank. Big news in the entertainment industry is the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences held the 95th Academy Awards ceremony Sunday in Hollywood. The big winner was the time-warping and mind-bending film Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Or as Vladimir Putin would say, the Ukrainian bombing strategy. Not only did the film win the Oscars for Best Film and Best Director, it won 3 of the 4 major acting awards. Vietnamese-born Ke Huy Quan first appeared on the screen as a child in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but had not been seen since the cinematic classic Encino Man. He won for Best Supporting Actor, and brought the house to tears with his acceptance speech about perseverance and succeeding in America as an immigrant. Longtime horror cult film movie favorite Jamie Lee Curtis won for Best Supporting Actress, and thanked her late parents, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, both of whom were nominated but did not win Oscars. And the most historic win was from Michelle Yeoh, who became the first Asian-born woman to win a Best Acting Award. Michelle encouraged women that looked like her and women of all ages to pursue their dreams. And I would do what she says, otherwise she'll whip out some martial arts on you. On the international news front, I'm going to spare us all the pain of hearing any more about the atrocities in Ukraine. Plenty of that in the daily news. My support and thoughts are with the Ukrainian people. There is one story that is on the lips of everyone and the minds of everyone today. how is my March Madness bracket doing? Am I right? Quick show of hands, how many people are legally wagering on some type of NCAA men's basketball tournament pool? Oh, come on, come on. All right, how many have already had their bracket busted? Okay, probably some more before this speech is over. All right, there are lots of local teams in the big dance this year. Your TCU Horned Frogs will be taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils this evening in Denver, Colorado. Are there any Baylor Bears in the room today? No? Okay, you got about 10 minutes before tip-off. I don't think anybody will mind if you sneak out. The speaker probably won't mind. I think you're okay. Longhorns in the crowd are happy. Aggie brethren, not so much. And it was a double whammy for the A&M system. Not only did the Aggies lose to Penn State, but in the battle for the environment, the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders were flooded by the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide. The weather this weekend will be windy and sunny with highs in the mid-50s and lows in the 30s. Enjoy winter's last curtain call.
James Emmons, partner at Seton Hill. We've got that Crazy Pants golf tournament coming up. Is he gonna come tell me about it? Here he comes. Yes. Here you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Just a brief reminder of our upcoming Crazy Pants Golf Tournament on May 16th. Looking to continue, I don't have my little video going, but there are ones that you can get on the website to sign up for teams. The committee's doing a fantastic job in getting sponsors for us. However, we still looking for that title sponsor, which we're twisting arms everywhere we can. Friendly, of course. But we welcome anybody's input to who to talk to, who to call. Thank you for helping and look forward to seeing you on the golf course. What a great subject for today's meeting. There you go. He's nodding his head. That's a good one. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Lauren Prier, Director, City of Fort Worth, about our real estate mixer.
Okay, it's the last call for the Real Estate Council of Greater Fort Worth Mixer. This will be held on March 21st, so this Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Maple Branch Craft Brewery. Free to attend, however, it is a cash bar. We'd also like for you to bring a bag of coffee to donate to the sailors of the USS Fort Worth.
Okay, so we'll see you there. And now we have a blue badge introduction. Ryan Jodish, past president from the Modesto, California Rotary Club, and we're delighted to have him here in Fort Worth. And let's swap him out.
Thank you.
And now let's get on with the program. Past President Courtney Lewis, EVP and Senior Managing Director of Cadence Bank, to introduce our program.
Thank you. So today we have Gilbert Little here. He is a private banker for Third Coast Bank, but prior to his career in banking, he spent 15 years as the sports marketing agent and business partner for PGA Tour golfer Hal Sutton. He was also Sutton's partner in Boot Ranch, a luxury real estate development in the Texas Hill Country. And in addition to that, he was the general manager of the San Francisco Giants AA baseball club. So sports is definitely in his blood. He also started a nonprofit for the Hal Sutton Foundation for charitable golf event partnership with Sutton. Tragically, in 2001, Little's youngest daughter, Reagan, unexpectedly passed away from viral meningitis. The Sutton Children's Hospital, which opened in May 2006 in Shreveport, Louisiana, was established by that Hal Sutton Foundation to ensure the health and wellness of children while celebrating Reagan's life. Gilbert and his wife, Deb, have been married for 36 years and have one daughter, Meredith, and her husband, Patrick, who live here in the DFW Metroplex. And I'm going to let him introduce JJ. Come on up, Gilbert.
Thank you, Courtney, so very much. We were so lucky to have been introduced to Courtney back last year, and you guys, you seem to be the most popular spot in Fort Worth for speakers, and so it took us a while to get on the agenda here, so we really appreciate it. And after seeing the slides of the former speakers that have been here, I mean, I'm just kind of out of place, you know, all the famous names, Eddie Rickenbacker, people like that, is just amazing. But, you know, through the years, I've been able to speak to different Rotary clubs in my different capacities. And the thing that I always loved was the Rotary mission, to provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the fellowship of business and professional and community leaders. And, you know, I started working in the game of golf in 1998, and I quickly learned that the game of golf shares many of those same qualities that the Rotary Club has. So, you know, the game of golf promotes integrity, discipline, and a strong work ethic. You know, golf is one of the few professional sports where if you don't play, there's no pay. And the better you play, the better the pay. So JJ Henry, who's going to come up here in just a moment, knows that very well. But, you know, the other thing, Rotary is well known for giving of time and money to charitable efforts. The PGA Tour also is the largest giver to charitable events, over right at $4 billion the PGA Tour is giving away. That's more than all the professional sports combined. So the game of golf is just really great to teach life lessons about giving back to the community, discipline, hard work. And as I was reading some of the bios from some of your members of the Rotary here, one of the things I noticed was everybody treasured the relationships they developed here in this Rotary Club. Well, golf is the same way. And I developed a relationship with JJ Henry through the Hal Sutton Foundation when we did our children's hospital. Well, in 2006, JJ started the Henry House Foundation. And I was fortunate enough to be able to come over to Fort Worth and spend a couple of weeks just helping him put on his charity events, which benefited Cook's Children's Hospital. So through the game of golf, we've developed a great relationship. I moved to Fort Worth in 2014, and JJ and I then at that point started working on a project that is now known as Avanzada. And JJ has spent so many years out on the tour, 25 years as a PGA Tour player. Not many guys can say that. I'll let him tell you the exact number of starts that he's had. A lot of hotel rooms. I think he one time said he spent more time in hotel rooms than his son was alive at one point in his career. But, you know, JJ grew up in Connecticut. He was All-American, All-State, all-everything in basketball, baseball, and golf. He come to TCU to play golf and met his lovely bride, Lee. And JJ and Lee have been residents of Fort Worth since that time. They have 2 kids, Connor and Carson. Connor is about to go play golf at University of Oklahoma, very good amateur player. As a matter of fact, I've been watching JJ check his phone because Con Man's out on the course right now down in Austin playing, and JJ's here with us today. But at TCU, JJ was the NCAA College Player of the Year, All-American, then went out onto the tour, had great success there. He's won 3 times. He's been a member of the United States Ryder Cup team. And now you can add to his resume, golf course designer and real estate developer, my dear friend, JJ Henry.
Thank you, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Do we have any golfers in the room? I hope we got some golfers. All right. Looks like I got to get a pair of crazy pants and come out in mid-May, right, for the big event. Again, thank you, Gilbert. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for having me here. As Gilbert mentioned, I know it's a kind of a crazy week between spring break and, of course, St. Patrick's Day. I see everybody's got some green on. And, of course, as we talked about March Madness, and I watched some of those games last night and saw that buzzer beater. I guess it was, Furman over Virginia, and it's just always just a great time of year. Even from a golf perspective, you know, Texas more so than other parts of the country, but, you know, the Masters is right around the corner, and it's kind of everybody's, you know, it's springtime. Everybody gets the golf clubs out of the closet or out of the garage, and it's always a nice time of year to kind of get back to the feeling. We're about a month and a half away, of course, from the Charles Schwab Championship here at Colonial. And as Gilbert mentioned, I've been fortunate now for over 25 years to travel the world and play professional golf against the best players in the world, and basically live a childhood dream, if you will, to pursue what not a lot of people get to do. It's something you love. And Gilbert, I think, said it best. He mentioned a lot of the different traits of what golf, I think, really stands for. And it's funny, the First Tee, which we have a great chapter here in Fort Worth. The First Tee is an organization that does a lot for the youth and junior golf, and a lot of inner cities to kind of help promote the game. And, you know, some of their, they call it the 9 core lessons, if you will, and, you know, which is honor, integrity, sportsmanship, courtesy, confidence, all those things that, regardless of, I think, your profession, I think golf is such an individual sport, so you really don't have anybody when the chips are down or you're not playing well to really talk to, or, you know, the coach doesn't come in and bring in somebody else to take your place. So in essence, at my level, it's kind of you and your caddy, if you will, against the world. So it's sometimes to be able to kind of dig deep and have that self-belief and inner belief to be able to do what I've been fortunate to do. I joke now, I'll be 48 in 2 weeks, and for those of you who know golf, once you turn 50, it's the Champions Tour. So I'm the only professional in the world. I wish I was probably 2 years older than I am right now. I'll be a rookie again on the Champions Tour in 2 years. So, but that being said, you know, I've been grateful to work on a unique project I'd love to talk a little bit about. But I thought, for fun, because it's St. Patrick's Day, I was on the 2006 Ryder Cup team. For those of you who don't really know much about golf or the Ryder Cup, it's in essence basically the best 12 American players against kind of all of Europe, Great Britain and Ireland. So to be able to kind of play an individual sport, but then have that team aspect and represent your country like I was fortunate enough to do in 2006, you know, my teammates were, you know, the Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson and Jim Furyk all the way down the line. So, you know, Tiger Woods and I are basically the same age. So we grew up together in the game of golf. And, you know, I joke, the better Tiger Woods has done, the better it is for guys like myself. And I've been pretty fortunate to, you know, to make a nice living. And, you know, I joked, you take for granted, like I said, sleeping in your own bed. I believe I've spent probably over 10 years of my life, believe it or not, in a hotel room, traveling the world, chasing my dream. But a couple funny stories, again, being St. Patrick's Day. I played on the 2006 team, and it was in Dublin, Ireland. So the matches were in Ireland. And I'll never forget, I got a chance on Sunday to play against Paul McGinley. Paul McGinley was an Irishman, and, you know, you can imagine a real loud, rowdy, you know, they were drinking, having a good time match on Sunday. And maybe we can pull this up. Can we pull this funny thing up? Don't pull it up yet. I think we were talking a little earlier here. So the singles matches are on Sunday. So all 12 players, you play somebody from the European team. And we had a great match. We were going to the 18th hole. It was a par 5. And you can imagine probably 50,000 people, you know, with a corporate hospitality lined up all down the 18th hole. And sure enough, when we both had about a 15, 20-foot birdie putt on the last hole. And as I'm walking, I'm lining up my putt and I'm talking to my caddy, and, you know, you're nervous, you're anxious, you want to make the putt. There's a kind of a commotion behind me, and it's like, it's getting louder and louder. I don't think anything of it. And I don't know, can we pull this up? I had a streaker run across the 18th green. This is a true story. This is the picture of the year in Irish sport, believe it or not. And that's me with Paul McGinley. So as the story goes, it got to be such a fiasco, and they're chasing him around the green. I mean, I didn't know, was I supposed to tackle him? I mean, I didn't want to tackle him. But anyways, what ended up happening was this, unfortunately, the U.S., we had already lost the cup, if you will, but we still finish out our matches. And because of the commotion, we were tied, and Paul came up to me and said, hey, listen, why don't we just kind of call it square, if you will, because, the outcome of the whole matches really didn't matter. So as we're shaking hands and congratulating on a great match and a great day, he's doing this perfect swan dive into the pond in the 18th green. So crazy stuff. On a more serious note, one other kind of neat Ryder Cup story, again, being St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. Of course, near and dear to here, Mr. Lord Byron Nelson. Byron Nelson was kind of an inspirational, everybody asks me a lot of times, who's kind of your dream foursome, if you will, when you play golf. And my dad, who's the one who kind of got me into the game, I used to caddy for my dad. As a young boy, kind of growing up for spending money in the summertime and, with his friends, and he was a very good player, so I was exposed to golf at a high level at a young age. Unfortunately, I lost my dad a couple months ago, but and the other two, of course, going to school here in Fort Worth, Mr. Ben Hogan, for just his work ethic and what he stood for, and, how hard, literally he'd dig it out of the dirt, if you will, kind of some of his iconic books and some of his sayings. And Byron Nelson, just for who he was, is from, what he meant to the game, the gentleman, how he was always just so nice to people. And I got a chance to, meet both of them, Mr. Hogan when I was still a student here at TCU, and Byron Nelson, when he would host the Byron Nelson tournament in Dallas every year. And kind of a Ryder Cup story, and I'll end with this story, and then we'll talk a little bit about our golf project. But again, in 2012, I was actually leading the Byron Nelson going into the last round. Let me back up real quick. So when the Ryder Cup team was announced in 2006, Byron Nelson's, one of his main hobbies was he was a woodworker, and obviously very spiritual, inspirational man. Our captain of the Ryder Cup team was a gentleman named Tom Lehman, for those of you who know golf, and a great guy. Once the team was announced, he gave us these 12 wooden tokens that Byron Nelson had made in his wood shop, and a nice letter saying what it was like to represent, your country, and good luck, and go get them. And Tom Lehman wanted us to carry these 12 tokens in our golf bag as kind of inspiration when the chips were down or when you needed something or to motivate you. So as the story goes, here I was back in 2012, now leading the Byron Nelson going to the last round, and I had it kind of on a wall, and I was up by myself in my office. I said, you know what? I said, I'm gonna take that piece of wood, I'm gonna take that token off, and I'm gonna put it in my golf bag, and I'm gonna use it for that Sunday final round, and hopefully it'll carry me through and win the tournament. So I'm playing great. I'm tied for the lead, or I think I have a one-shot lead on the 5th hole on Sunday. And I make a hole-in-one on the 5th hole at Las Colinas, and I go to my caddy. I call him Pro because he's a golf pro, and I said, Pro, let me see the little token, the piece of wood, and I'm rubbing that piece of wood, and I'm like, Byron Nelson, we're going to do this today. I got my good luck piece of wood. Anyways, long story short, I ended up losing by a shot, but again, it was an inspirational kind of a token, if you will, and it was the last things that Byron Nelson ever made in his wood shop before he passed away were those 12 tokens from the U.S. Ryder Cup team. So to this day, I kind of keep it in my office. I've got a story that one of the golf publications ran about the story and me holding the wooden token, and all the time when I'm having a bad day or I need something, I'll kind of look up and see that token and different things. But again, just some kind of the unique stories and things that I've been fortunate to do over the last 25 years is playing this great game. I've played golf with presidents and who's who of corporate America, and whatever the field might be. But at the end of the day, too, I'm real proud to say I live here in Fort Worth, and I went to school here. I married my college sweetheart. We have 2 boys, as Gilbert had mentioned, and it's just a wonderful place to live that I think all of us here in this room would agree. I could live really anywhere I want to live because of the profession I'm in, and I wouldn't want to live any other place. And I think we're all grateful to live in such a great city, and it's people like you in this room that make it that. And I thank you guys for all you do for our great city, whether it's business or philanthropy or whatever it might be. And I'm just glad to be a small part of that. That being said, about the last 5 years now, again, golf kind of in that little bit of that no man's land. I've been fortunate to do what I've done for so long. But it's hard when I'm 48 almost, and I'm playing against these 23 and 24-year-old kids who hit the ball 40 yards farther than me. And of course, I got a son now that does the same. So I've been very fortunate to partner with some wonderful people. Again, golf has opened up these doors for me to basically what I want to feel like is give back and leave something better than it was, in essence. And that's to create this vision of a golf community, of a high-end amenity-driven place to play golf, to live. And I'm just really proud. I wake up every morning now energized and excited about Avanzada Golf and Ranch Club. Avanzada is a Spanish meaning for the outpost. And the piece of property that Avanzada will sit on, about a 900-acre piece of land southwest of town off 377 and Kelly Road. A beautiful piece of property with almost 200 feet of elevation change, hardwoods, Bear Creek running up our eastern and northern border. And to create this vision, I've lived in these golf communities, some of the best all over the world. And I said, well, at some point in my career, how can I assemble the right team to make this, or to live this vision and to create something really special for Fort Worth? And that's exactly what we've done. We've got one of the best golf architects in the world, a gentleman by the name of Jim Lipe. Jim Lipe worked with Jack Nicklaus, who's arguably the best golfer to ever live. He's done some of the most wonderful golf course communities, kind of a who's who of golf communities. A gentleman named Mike Sheridan, who's kind of our master land planner, that's put together. When you have a piece of property like this, it's in the 900 acres, and you have kind of rugged terrain with elevation change and such. We have beautiful views of downtown Fort Worth from our top border. We sit almost 1,000 feet above sea level. So in essence, it's one of the highest, if not the highest point in the county. To incorporate kind of that wonderful golf, the golf low in and around the creek and the hardwoods with all the elevation change, and then some beautiful home sites and some areas kind of in and around it, is something that, again, I wake up every morning kind of energized to put the pieces together and, again, leave something for our city and for our area, better than it was before. And it's ironic, one more funny story about Avanzada is, the story goes when our principal, and we were acquiring the land to do this project, we met in just a wonderful elderly couple, and she said, "Would you like to hear some history on the property?" I said, "Absolutely." And she goes, "My Aunt Dot," her aunt at the time, she goes, "In 1961, Ben Hogan came and looked at this piece of property and wanted to build a golf course." And she goes, "My Aunt Dot said, I don't care if you're the governor of Texas and I don't like golf, I'm not selling you my land." But, here we are 60 plus years later with an opportunity to do something really special. I mean, I encourage you guys, if you have any interest to hear or see it, we'd love to talk to you about it, or, you can go to our website. I don't know if we have any information here today, but avanzadagolf.com. But again, just to be able to kind of travel the world like I have, and to put together, I think, the team we have to create something really special. I'm a big TCU guy. I think I'm more known now for my tailgates at football games than I am my golf game. But other than that, we're also going to hopefully give it an opportunity to make it to home at TCU men's and women's golf, in addition to who knows, whether it's to just to have a great time, or to kind of that vibe and that energy with such a wonderful piece of property is something really cool. I could talk for days and hours. I know I'm kind of limited on time, but I'd love to do it. Does anybody have any questions about golf, or the state of golf, or the business of golf, or about our course? Or I'd love to answer any questions if I could. Does anybody have any questions?
Where did you say the property was?
Yeah, so it's actually on the Tarrant-Parker County line. It's 377 South and Kelly Road, almost across from like where Borland Airfield is. And again, it's about 25 minutes to downtown, take you literally 20 to 25 minutes from right here. to find a piece of property. I've been searching with Gilbert literally behind the scenes for close to 5 years to really do something. And the attention to detail as I've gone to these clubs, like I mentioned, kind of for years and years, is, whether what the cup look like, or what's the, everything and anything. And I was just, be able to kind of have that vision, I think, is something really cool. And it's frankly, I think we need it here in town. I mean, every golf course in town is a wait list to the floor. I mean, this is going to be more of a higher end, unique piece of property and unique venture, but, we're open to kind of host a lot and do a lot for the community, in addition to have a great place to live and play golf and entertain. Yeah.
Did you have to assemble the property, or was it 900 acres?
No, yeah, we were fortunate. It's actually our partner, our principal, a gentleman, a wonderful guy. He had a daughter that went to TCU, originally from California. We were able to acquire, actually, our piece of Avanzada itself sits on 900 acres, but we're actually a part of a 2,400 acre master plan community that was actually, it was two sisters, in essence, that had the property itself, and we were able to kind of incorporate all that into one. So, there'll be close to 62 acres of commercial high-end retail, similar to like a Clear Fork product, which will sit on 377. So our vision is, you could take your golf cart to the grocery store, to dinner, to the restaurant, or take your son or daughter. There's 3 Alito ISD schools going just to our north. It's Alito ISD. So to be able to take your son or daughter, or grandson or daughter to school, or, to dinner, or kind of that vibe and vision, that kind of that sense of community. Not only a great place to live, but a safe place to live too. It'll be kind of a controlled access community where maybe if you don't even like golf, but you want to live in a nice place and feel safe at the same time, hopefully that's what we're trying to accomplish as well. Yeah.
So what do you think of some of these new arrangements they're doing this year on the tour, where they're requiring some of the 30 top players to win some tournaments? And
yeah, it's been a chaotic, year and a half with golf. And, if some of you that follow with the Live Tour, LIV, which is kind of Greg Norman and the Saudi-backed, I joke, I wish I was about 4 or 5 years younger. And, because of what's happened, golfers now, not that by any means that we, haven't done very well, but the amount of money these kids now are playing for because of kind of a rival league, if you will. If you watch like the Players Championship last week, but I think the purse at the Players Championship was $25 million. I mean, the winner got, 4 days of golf, made $4.5 million. The caddy probably made more than even I made for when I won 2 of my tour events. And quite frankly, it wasn't even that long ago, So, I mean, golf's in a great spot. Obviously, a lot of these younger kids that grew up watching the Tiger Woods of the world are now, golf is more athletic and stuff. Kids want to play golf. Back even when I played high school golf 30 years ago, golf maybe was, you play golf. Well, now golf's like a cool thing to do. Kids want to play golf, and maybe more so, or football and everything else. But golf, the kids now are athletic, and the training, all the things that are involved with it, a lot of the technology and such that, they hit the ball a lot farther and they're a lot more athletic. So golf's in a great spot, it really is. And as Gilbert mentioned too, the PGA Tour gives more money to charity than all professional sports combined. So it's kind of unique. You take, for instance, the Charles Schwab Cup, Challenge at Colonial. The millions upon millions of dollars that goes right back into the Fort Worth community after every event is pretty unique in sports. It doesn't necessarily go back right into one of the players or one of the coaches' pocket, if you will. So, these tournaments don't really exist without the thousands upon thousands of volunteers. Maybe some of you guys have helped or been a part of, the Colonial event, and whether it's a walking score or a transport, whatever it might look like, it's the thousands upon, we take for granted sometimes as players when we kind of blow into these communities for a week. You don't realize the thousands upon thousands of people that, it takes to put on a PGA Tour event, with the fact that most of the money and we even talked with Courtney about some of the corporate hospitality here earlier about, a lot of the money that's reinvested right back into the communities. And quite frankly, a lot of these charities, depend on these tournaments that we come in and play, the thousands upon thousands of dollars. I'm sure that, each and every charity gets from each and every community we play in. And that's what's great about Colonial too. I think Colonial is the longest now standing tour event on the same golf course and same venue. So, I've been fortunate to play it for 20 plus years and sleep in my own bed and do it. But it's really cool to see kind of, as I get older, I've served on like the Player Advisory Council, which is kind of in essence like semi-sitting on the board of the tour as like a player representative for probably a dozen years that I've been out there. But to see really where the game's going and now what these kids are playing for now, it's kind of like NBA or, NFL quarterback type money now. And, so be it, which is obviously great for the next generation for sure. Yeah.
Your thoughts on the PGA's golf ball?
Yeah, that's a great question that just really came out. It was the cat that was out of the bag last week about they want to have like a bifurcation of rules where, because a lot of these golf courses, let's take for Colonial as example because everybody kind of knows it. It's not necessarily the longest course in the world. It's tree lined and, it's not the biggest piece of property. And a lot of these golf courses have become obsolete because the ball and the technology and the club heads are now going so far that, quite frankly, we can't really utilize a lot of these wonderful golf course architecture and stuff. So there's been a recommendation from the USGA, which is the United States Golf Association, and the RNA, which is the Royal and Ancient that kind of oversees golf in Europe, to have more of a bifurcation of rules for the best players in the world and the tour players. And quite frankly, I'm against it because I think the unique thing about golf is you and I can go out, or you can watch me play on TV, or you can watch one of the other players, and that I can go use the same ball and the same clubs, and that's what makes golf good, I think, and fun. We use the same equipment and, with a handicap system and alike, you and I could still go out and I could give you your, I hope you're not a sandbagger now. I'm not going to give you more shots than I should, but you and I can go out and have a fun day or a fun match, and that's what's great about golf. Whether you're just beginning or a tour player, you can go out and still have a fun day on it. So personally, and I think most of the tour players, quite frankly, are against it. And at the end of the day, too, we're entertainers. I mean, people want to see the ball go far. They go to a Ranger game to watch home runs, and some of these kids they're bigger and stronger and better than they ever have been. So at some point, I'd like to think that maybe enough's enough, but to start changing the ball and what that looks like and stuff, I don't think it's a really good idea. And I think that probably 99% of my fellow tour players probably think the same thing. And quite frankly, too, the manufacturers who make the balls, I've been part of like Titleist, which is one of the ball manufacturers. I know one thing, that they don't want to spend tens or maybe hundreds of millions of dollars to design these balls, quite frankly, to give them away, because as tour players, they pay us to use the ball, so even from a cost perspective, it could be hundreds of millions of dollars for these golf companies that, quite frankly, really don't want to design a ball that they're going to give away to a bunch of tour players, So I don't really think it's a real good idea, to be honest with you. Yeah.
JJ, what is your philosophy behind the design?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of all the things I've seen over my trials and tribulations and playing golf, and a lot of it's dictated by the land and the elevation change and the amount of space, the amount of acreage we have to use. So it'll be kind of a more of a spread out, kind of what they like to call more of a parkland golf course, because there's so many hardwoods and trees. And the unique thing too about it is because there's such a big piece of property that, as you're playing hole 3, 4, 5, you really won't see any other golf holes as you're playing, like a lot of courses, just because of the nature of the look and the feel of the footprint of the piece of property. So every hole is kind of like its own little piece of art, so you're playing a hole and you're not going to be, hooking it in somebody else's fairway or somebody's, getting hit in the head or whatever, just because we have the footprint and the unique features of it to be able to kind of incorporate a lot of that architectural design. And I'm just grateful too to be able to partner with both the golf course architect and the land planner that have between the two of them, close to 100 years of experience doing it. I think that's an important deal. I mean, we have zero debt on the entire project. I mean, it's obviously a huge deal. I mean, it's not the second or the third or the pieces from a financial perspective that, we're able to kind of do a lot of the things that we're able to do because of the financial situation that we're in as well. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, please, back there, yeah.
First of all, I want to thank the PBA too for what y'all do, the first team.
Yeah.
Program for minority communities.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, I'm not much of a golfer, but what's the long-term prospects for Colonial? I know that they're investing some money in sponsors, no sponsors.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was actually talking to the tournament director, Michael Toth, last week about this. We've been fortunate now. I think this is maybe the third year that Charles Schwab has stepped up as kind of our title sponsor. And of course, Charles Schwab is one of the flagship sponsors of the tour. So I think from a sponsorship standpoint, we're in great shape. Those of you kind of in the golf circles, they're talking about these elevated and non-elevated events, which are more of a financial reaction to this kind of rival golf league of LIV. So whether that becomes an elevated event over time or whether it stays at, the current, 120 to 156 player field, kind of remains to be seen. But I think as a general rule, I mean, again, as I mentioned, Colonial is literally, it's the longest, golf event at, in one place in the history of the tour. So we're in kind of a golf-rich area. Obviously, when it goes back to, the Ben Hogan and the Byron Nelsons, and again, talk about what it's meant to the community, whether it's the First Tee or other charities and stuff. So I'd like to think that, the tournament is in great shape for the long haul, but you never know. To answer your question, yeah, they are doing a big redo of the golf course. The golf course is basically closing for a significant amount of time to redo the golf course after May's event. I'm guessing with hopes to open it, before the 2024 event. And they're bringing in one of the, best architects in the world to do what they need to do to kind of fine tune and make it, quote, better. But I think a lot of the players, from a player perspective now that come, they love Colonial for what it is. I mean, they love Fort Worth. You'd be amazed of how many tour pros people have asked me. I've tried to help get them into TCU because they love coming to Fort Worth. I mean, it's crazy. Like, how could you not want your son or daughter to go to TCU, not living in Fort Worth and hearing about it and visiting once a year for decades. And, of course, they all knew I'm a TCU alum. So they're like, hey, tell me more about TCU. And, next thing you know, you're trying to put them in touch with the right people at the right time to, so I mean, literally, I'm probably two hands. I can count friends that son or daughters that have went to TCU that are tour players. Actually, there's, I think, 3 of them right now that still go to TCU. So again, it's just a great place to be. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I'm not much of a golfer either. I like to go to the range and whack a few, but you said PGA, this is what stuck up my mind. PGA gives $4 billion a year to charity?
No, that's total. That's total. And Gilbert, you might know, is that like 30 plus years? I know it was a big deal when we got over $1 billion, but we went from like 1 billion to 2 billion to 3 billion to 4 billion probably in the last 10 years, right, Gilbert? Would you?
That's aggregate over time.
Correct, yeah.
You said that's more than all the other sports combined.
That's again, that's a great question. I'm guessing a lot of it has to do with, like I talked a little bit about the volunteer and the structure of these events. And, a lot of them are set up even from a nonprofit standpoint to be able to give back whatever they kind of make, if you will. And a lot of it too is just the model and the structure of how it's set up. Again, I don't want to pry into what the NBA and what the NFL does, but I'm guessing more so when you spend $400 on a ticket and another $150 for a hamburger and a couple beers. I mean, that more goes back to the actual franchise itself, as opposed to maybe giving back to, what the footprint of the charitable aspect of the event looks like. And a lot of these tournaments too have gotten really good about doing a lot of like, birdies for charities and different things that they kind of associate with, and they can kind of tag on to, like the number of birdies for the week, and somebody matches it, or, your corporation or your business might get involved to give money back. So they've been, more so and easier to do probably in golf because it's only a week event as opposed to, I'm not a week meaning 1 week, days, not like it's a week, like, it's a bad tournament, but, yeah, sorry, I got but anyway, so that's probably the structure of why that's the case. Yeah.
I was just going to ask if you would explain a little bit about LIV. This is
Yeah. So the LIV Tour, so it's kind of a response. So Greg Norman was an Australian golfer that was the world #1 for a long time. Very successful. He kind of that flamboyant, the blonde hair, they called him the Shark, and was, basically, kind of helped golf in kind of that 80s and 90s. And he was a very successful businessman after golf, made a ton of money in and out of golf. And he always had an idea of really, especially I'm guessing because he's from Australia, to create more of a world tour. And our commissioners over the time kind of butt heads and didn't get along. And they were trying to form something back in the late 90s, and it just didn't work out. Again, the commissioner, they got, it was kind of like, I think it was a little bit of the jealousy. Well, who are you to come in and I'm going to do this and that. But long story short, here we are, 20 years later, and Greg Norman is partnered with, the Saudi, Saudi Arabian, what is it, the fund or what? And it's basically where their money, investment fund, and that's where their money's come from. And in essence, basically have bought 48 of the best players in the world for a significant amount of money to basically play that rival tour. And so now what's happening is you have kind of the PGA Tour and this LIV Tour. And quite frankly, whether you can agree and disagree on the LIV and where the money's coming from and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, because of the LIV Tour, even if you stayed on the PGA Tour, the amount of money that now these players are playing for every week is basically a direct, effect, if you will, of the kind of that rival league. So, in a lot of industries, competition's good in a lot of ways. And if you're a we're just a 1099 professional golfer. Like, we actually own the tour. I don't work for the tour. Like, when I make a check at a tournament, I get paid through the tour, but I'm just a 1099 golfer. So in essence, to be able to kind of, that rivalry, if you will, and actually the LIV event, they're playing this week. They have an event in Tucson that they're playing. I quite frankly think it's great in a lot of ways because, as a player, it's an opportunity to make a lot more money. So at the end of the day, it's still a business for us too,
PGA players play for LIV.
No, see, that's the big deal. Yeah, they're talking about lifetime bans and, they're talking about, sorry, I could talk for days, but I mean, I love, they're kind of giving me the hook over here. But yeah, that's kind of that's kind of the talking points now, or, you, as a kind of a self-employed golfer, why can't I play both? And the tour is kind of getting pushed back because, hey, if you're a PGA Tour member, we want you to play here. We don't want you to play for the rival. And that's kind of where the heads are being butt right now. So anyways, again, thank you so much for having me. Again, I appreciate it. And happy St. Patrick's Day. Everybody looks good in their green. Thank you so much.
So JJ and Gilbert, thank you so much for being here with us today. It is a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to make a donation in honor of our program speakers. And in recent years, we have been giving our donation to the Polio Plus Fund, which has been a decades-long project of Rotary International to eradicate polio, and we're so close. So thank you for being here and telling us all about Avanzada, giving us the inside scoop. Rotarians love that inside scoop, and having this insight into the PGA and all the wonderful work that they do beyond the course, and that both of you seem to do personally as well. So thank you once again. There you go. There's a memento. Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to say anything else? Just a few quick closing announcements. Don't forget, next Tuesday, join us for the Real Estate Council Mixer, Maple Branch Brewery. You can bring guests, come out for Rotary Night at the Opera. It's Aida. So for those of you, if you've never been to an opera, if you're not so sure you like opera, this is a great one to start with. It's one of the grandest of Verdi's operas, and it will be the TCU Van Cliburn Concert Hall has pristine acoustics, and it's a rather intimate setting, so we're really in for a treat with a full chorus and some superstars coming in from the global opera scene. And don't forget to register for the Denton, the Assembly, the District Assembly in Denton, the next morning, Saturday. It will be April 15th, and become an RMBA sponsor if you'd like. And Crazy Pants is coming up. Maybe we'll see JJ there, and Gilbert. And congrats to Mitch Reitman, Mr. and Mrs. Reitman, on their recent wedding. Next week's speaker is Tom Kilgannon. He's traveling in from Washington, DC. He's the president and CEO of Freedom Alliance, which is a national defense organization. They're also very involved in veterans affairs, and that is something that Ollie North put together. He's also written a book about the United Nations, and he'll hopefully give us some insights there. And we started today's meeting with an Irish blessing. Let's also end with an Irish blessing. May your blessings outnumber the shamrocks that grow, and may trouble avoid you wherever you go. Happy St. Patrick's Day. This meeting is adjourned.